The guys that are good are good. Meyer's good, and Krickmeyer's obviously amazing, and Pinterault's good, and whatever. But Odermatt just blew them all out. Welcome back to the race recap. I am Joe, and over the last 4 years, I've watched every tech run on the World Cup, as well as about 50% of the speed events. Today, we are going to be going over the men's Super Gs from Beaver Creek. Now, I was really excited when they announced that they're going to run two Super Gs at Beaver Creek, because I think it's a really cool Super G. And I really was excited to see what it looked like on day two after guys got a chance to feel the hill and then come out gunning in the second day. And then I thought it would be really cool to shoot the show as a two-run Super G race. And I have compiled the results right here for you to go through. So, starting with the first five, Marco Odermatt obviously is going to be your two-run race winner. The guy was dominant all weekend. He looked amazingly good. It's crazy when he runs Super G because he's a little ragged and he's not always he's not the picture of smoothness like the Austrian guys are, Meyer and Krickmeyer. But he knows how to let the skis run. He knows how to set the edges clean and ride a really fast ski across the hill. Two unbelievable races. The first day, he blew everybody out. And I'll be honest, about halfway through the first day's race, I was starting to think that Super G was really falling off. There really wasn't anyone out there to challenge Odermatt. Meyer was sitting in second place, and he was 4, 5, 6, 7 tenths out. Broderick Thompson comes down in third. That was pretty cool for him. But I didn't see good skiing from Dominic Paris. I didn't see good skiing from Beat Foyce, the speed guys. And Pinterault was, he's in it in sixth, but can't challenge Odermatt, obviously. RCS didn't have a great day. Ganong and the other Americans didn't have a great day, and it just was all right, well, what's the deal in Super G? Is Odermatt just going to run away with the whole thing and just beat up on everybody? After the race, I was like, I don't know if it was that good of a race, and I don't know how exciting Super G is going to be all year because it didn't look that great. And the guys that are good. Meyer's good, and Krickmeyer's obviously amazing, and Pinterault's good, and whatever. But Odermatt just blew them all out. So. Okay, so I was pretty down after day one, which is probably why I've only watched about half of the speed races over the last few years because I overreact to things. But then on day two, you get Kilday, comes back into it. He looks amazing. He wins, but there's Odermatt still in second. So Odermatt is far and away the best men's two-run Super G guy. Second place, Matthias Meyer with a second and a fourth on the weekend, but he's 1.67 out off of Odermatt when you put them together. So Odermatt's pretty far ahead. Meyer looked really, really good both days. He's so balanced. He's so solid on his feet. I've called him the best air guy before. That balance he shows in the air is absolutely showing itself all the way through the Super G. So Matthias Meyer, a great weekend for him, a second and a fourth. Way to go. In third place in our two-run Super G was Vincent Kretschmar. He got 2 fifths on the weekend, skied really, really well. He was still 1.94 out off of Odermatt. Next was kind of surprising to me, Pinterault, which shouldn't be surprising that he's the fourth best guy when you combine the 2 days worth of work. 2.6 on the weekend, really, really good. The model of consistency, an amazingly smooth, amazingly steady skier. Maybe he just lacks the size to get a win in Super G. However, I'd be really curious to hear the weight difference between Odermatt and Pinterault. I don't think it's that much. Odermatt's just that good. Fifth place was really a surprise for me. Travis Ganong goes 22nd on the first day, and then a third place finish on day two, and boom, he is your number 5 guy on the weekend. Travis is a really, really, really good skier. He definitely shows that California touch for the snow. He's smooth, he's clean, and he said in his interview at the end, he felt like he had a really good run, and then he skied it tactically well, and when he skis tactically well, he's fast because he's so smooth, so clean on his edges, and just a really, really good day for him. Cool seeing Travis on the podium. I was really psyched for him. I was down on the American guys after the first day, I'm not going to lie. it wasn't looking good. But great job from Travis, and it gives me confidence for the other guys moving forward. After the top 5, we move on to talk about Ski Dad. We have rebranded here at the YouTube channel. No longer is it Joe the Dad. It is now Ski Dad. And it's stuff like this that's going to make this YouTube channel really pop. Like, subscribe. Let's get this channel popping. 6th place, Andreas Sander. He had a he had a great first day. 4th place on the first day. Thought he had a podium. He even got to stand there with the podium guys, with Meyer and Odermatt after Bib 30 came down. And then Broderick Thompson comes down and just boots him out of there with some really great skiing. And we're going to get to him later because he was awesome. But Andreas Sander, the German, he's a great skier. Does really well. 2.51 out overall. Super solid from him. I like that he's a consistent World Cup contender day in and day out. It feels nice that there's a German guy in there kind of breaking up the Austrian power struggle there. Shear said, we didn't get to see his first race because Peacock was doing some business with their own commercials. I don't know what that was all about. He was 7th on the first day. He's a big, strong guy. Skis really well. Obviously, he's training with Kilday and Jansrud and picking up a lot from them. Really great first day from him. Second day, he was 13th. That puts him 7th overall on the weekend. Great weekend for him. Gino Cavanzel. Did Mauro Cavanzel retire? Does anyone know? I don't know. Is he injured? I don't know. But Gino Cavanzel had a great weekend as well. He goes 8th with a 10th and a 9th. I always like it when somebody, even in a real GS, they get 2 results that are like 10th and 10th, and they end up 6. That's always really cool to me, that consistency can pay off and give you a better overall result. Nipping on his heels was Broderick Thompson. Obviously, the 3rd place run on day 1 got him here. Day 2 did not go as well for him. He was 20th. What I saw on day 2 is that he was just a little bit back. You could see with his hands, he was losing that, was it inside, outside? It was his outside hand behind his waist in a couple spots, and he just wasn't quite tilted up and moving forward like he was the day before when there was no pressure on and he was just skiing free. Day 2, he comes out with that 3rd place pressure and earlier bib number, goes 20th. Really skied well on the bottom. I think he was fast, like maybe even like 3rd-ish on the bottom split. So that shows that he still has a speed he had the day before. Just a little bit of nerves came in, and he didn't quite perform the way he did the day before. Still, great job. He edges out Ralph Hasser by 1/100th in the overall. Hasser was 11th day 1, 8th day 2. I don't really know much about Hasser. What I do know is that his sister is skiing pretty good on the women's side. Well, I think it's his sister. Her name's Hasser too. And she is someone that I've really watched closely over the last few years because she's done a great job of just making second runs in World Cups, then moving into the 20s in World Cups, and then in the top 15 in World Cups. And now this year she's a top 10 threat in World Cups. So if her brother can follow that same slow progression through the World Cup, then awesome. We got another contender. Brett, why don't we have an ad between day 1 or the first page and the second page? This is a total waste of marketing. No, look, we just passed right over it. We got to have stuff in here. This is what people expect out of us. Professionalism. Whatever. In 11th place, Cassie. I don't know this guy either. Like I said, I've only watched 50% of the speed races over the last few years. He was 9th the first day, 17th the second day, 3.18 off of Odermatt. He just edges out Beat Foyce, who was 12th on the first day, 14th on the second day. I love watching Beat Foyce ski every time he skis. I don't understand why the announcers were bagging on him, saying that he's just a downhill specialist when he's won Super Gs in the past. How are you a specialist in something when you still compete and have won in the other event? I don't understand, but whatever. Beat Foyce, great weekend for him. 13th, Giesenhammer. I have no idea who he is. I'd never seen his name before. Maybe I've watched him before. I don't know, but I didn't recognize him this weekend. 17th and 16th to get him a 13th place overall. Another cool one there. After that, Christian Walder of Austria. 14th the first day, 25th the second day. Pretty good performance from him. Rogatin, another guy, I don't know. I'm sorry I don't know all these guys in the speed side. I am more of a tech guy, so this is what you get. Well, Rogatin, 12th the first day, 31st on the second day. Did not have it day 2. Moving on. All the work. I know you guys have been asking a lot about what are these other videos on the YouTube channel. As you go through the feed and you see all these weird boat things and you see me tearing into fiberglass and cutting and sanding and ripping on a water ski. And I know you're super impressed with the water skiing. But what I have done over the last 2 years is I got the amazing opportunity to rebuild and refurbish my 1988 Ski Supreme. Neighbors of ours got a boat, and my wife looked at me and goes, that boat that's been sitting in our garage for the last 9 years and not running better start running. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll take on the project. I gutted this thing all the way down to the stringers, learned to fiberglass from videos on YouTube, built it back up, and now the camera that I'm looking at is sitting on a fully refurbished, sea-decked 1988/2022 Ski Supreme. The thing's totally awesome. Check out the entire build here. I called it all the work because instead of documenting or instead of trying to show you what the right way to do something is, I just showed you all the work because I'm a total novice and I did a bunch of boat work. And I think it's pretty cool. Moving on. Nils Allegre had a great weekend, 25th and 11th. I guess he's probably happier about his 11th than his 25th, but 16th in the fake race here. Pretty good Nils. Matteo Fevre, I was pretty surprised to see him out there gunning in Super Gs quite as hard as he was. I'd like to see him in more Super Gs. Here's a guy with a later bib number. I think he was starting in the 40s on the second day. Day 1, he's 22nd. Day 2, he's 15th. This is a guy who should be in all the Super Gs. I think he's good enough, and I think it's cool he's out there, and he's training with Pinterault. I figure he just follows Pinterault around and does what he does, and if that includes Super Gs, then great. Good Super G skier. If he moves up, gets a better bib, better start position, could be a top 10 guy, it looks to me. James Crawford. Now, James Crawford shouldn't technically be in this race right here because the way I did it was I just wrote the top, I don't know, however many guys down these lines right here, and that got to guy number like 27, and then I was done. There was no way I was going to do 2 pages worth of work to figure out these results. But James Crawford, I thought, skied really well the first day and then really skied well on the second day and got himself a 12th place. And I just couldn't help myself but to throw him in the mix and see where he comes out in the 2-day race. So James Crawford, he's an asterisk because he shouldn't have made this results, but he's the one guy that I went to a second page, added his results in. He is skiing super solid. He looks like maybe he's a bit smaller. Well, compared to Foyce, he's smaller, but he's a bit smaller of a guy. But he runs a really tight, compact position. He did an incredible job of maintaining aerodynamics, especially up on the pitch. He's dynamic with his leg movements. He's a really good skier. And I think this 12th place was just a small nugget of his potential and talent. James Crawford, as well as some of the other Canadians, really, really good stuff out there. Good skiing. Thomas Tumler, he was 19th. He was 19th on the first day, 30th on the second day. He's good. He's fun to watch. Babinski, I don't know, another guy I don't know, never really heard of him before, but he took a hip check and then stood it back up and kept going on day 2. That was absolutely incredible. Unbelievable balance and really, really cool to watch. Base skiing. Let's talk about base skiing really quick. So I've been talking base skiing breakdown. I've mentioned base skiing a couple other times throughout the show. Base skiing is my offensive approach to ski racing, based on the philosophy that the completion of the turn is more important than the initiation of the turn. Your base position is a position that you could realistically carve the entire course. Might not be the fastest position to carve the entire course. It's probably a little bit squatty. The feet don't get really far away from the body. The knees are fairly angulated, staying under the hips, and you can just carve smoothly through the whole course. That's your base position. The base position is juxtaposed by the exotic maneuvers. Now, When you want to generate speed into a turn and you want to do a large leg extension into the turn, well, that is called an exotic maneuver. That maneuver is called large extension. Or if you want to come into a turn and you need to stiv the turn in order to have a clean completion. Remember, the completion is more important than the initiation. So if you need to use a stiv, the stiv is an exotic maneuver. Now when you're looking at a course, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to go base here. I'm going to use a stiv here. That's an exotic maneuver. Now I need a little feather here. Now I'm coming onto a flat, big extension, etc., 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 all the way to the finish line. If you want a larger, more detailed description of base skiing, I did a podcast with James Takis a couple of years ago on the Pissed Off podcast, and I went into, he was the first person I really tried to describe the offensive approach to ski racing to. And if you want a bigger breakdown, then go check out that podcast. I really recommend it. Up next, Daniel Dankelmeyer. When I hear Dankelmeyer, I think of another Pissed Off podcast with James Takis I just mentioned. Sam Duprat was on there, and he talked about how when he left the Europa Cup circuit and came back to the States and went to college, Dankelmeyer was his competition. After 4 years of college, and he went back over to compete in Europa Cups, Dankelmeyer was still racing Europa Cups. His point was that he didn't lose that much by going to college because Dankelmeyer was still the guy there doing the Europa Cup thing. So when I see Dankelmeyer, I think, okay, that's where Sam Duprat should be, minus the big injury that he had. Love Sam Duprat. Wish he was back out there. That's what I think when I see Dankelmeyer. After him, Marsalgia, a little spell check issue on that. I hand wrote this whole thing, and let me tell you, my hand was cramped and sore after doing this whole thing. Who knows if I spelled everything right? If I spelled it wrong, I apologize. I did the best I could, but the math is good. Weber was our last finisher. He was 21st on the first day, 32nd on the second day, 4.56 out. Pretty cool, right? I mean, this is what it would look like if it was a GS. Now, the DNFs, Justin Maurissier, 8th the first day, DNF the second day. Jansrud, 14th the first day. Definitely didn't have his best form on the first day, and then the second day it was more of the same. He just doesn't look like he's comfortable on his skis. He looks sore, and then he took that fall. And I am just so sad to say that I think we've seen the end of Kjetil Jansrud's career. It's super sad. It brings me back to the 2015 Beaver Creek World Championships when Bodie Miller went out in the Super G and cut his leg. And when I saw that fall from Bodie, I was there in attendance at that World Championships. When I saw Bodie fall, I knew that was the end of his career, and it was just super sad. And that's how I feel about Jansrud going down. I think his career's done. It looks to me like there's a broken ligament in there. I don't know if there couldn't be. I think I saw a headline that there was a ligament torn. But super sad. Bummer. He had some great runs. He had some great races out there, and he was an unbelievable competitor. He was a smiley guy, and he was the leader of that Norwegian team when Svindal was hurt. And I was always amazed at how Svindal left, and then Jansrud stepped up and carried the torch for all his recoveries and has just had an incredible career. Yours Krenbuhl was next on the DNFs. 16th the first day, DNF the second day. I believe he's the one who hooked his arm in the gate. That looked horrific. Jeez, you don't want to do that. You don't want to hook an arm in a Super G gate, which Krenbuhl did. Trevor Philp was the next DNF. Decent first day, 18th on the first run. DNF second run. The Canadians have skill. They got talent. There's a lot going on with the Canadians. The Canadians, to me, always feel like they always have one guy that can just blast in and get a podium, and then the rest of them are kind of there. They don't have that one consistent guy that's top 10 every single race. They're close. On the ladies' side, it's even a little bit closer in the slalom scene, but with Saint Germain. But they're close. And if I had to call it, I would say that it would be James Crawford. I think James Crawford is going to be the guy that's going to push that Canadian team into a consistent top 10 situation. Trevor Philp is no slouch. Trevor Philp can be the real deal any given day. He's just not the real deal every day. RCS was the last guy who made the first page, but then DNF the next day. RCS just looked a little shaky first day, and they were blaming the base bevel of his skis. I believe on the broadcast they said he went from a 0.5 from day 1 to a 0.8 on day 2. But then on day 2, on the big, long right footer where a lot of people were getting dragged low, RCS stood on the outside ski. The outside ski didn't bend around, and he goes out. So was the 0.8 really the right move? Because it looked like when he needed to really lay on that ski and bend it and bring it around, he didn't have it. And I think he wished he had that 0.5 again. Now we're looking at RCS 2 days in a row with an equipment ski setup issue. Let's go all the way back to Kitzbühel last year. His ski setup was too aggressive, is what I had heard. And then I went back and looked at the footage, and I totally agree. In that Kitzbühel run where he goes into the B net and breaks his neck, you could see that his skis were too aggressive. So we're looking at we're looking at 3 races in recent memory where he doesn't have his ski setup quite dialed. This is something that RCS totally has to figure out. There was that cool commercial later on the Peacock broadcast with Travis Ganong talking about how his serviceman, he shows up and just says, give me the skis, doesn't even ask the technician which ones he's choosing or why, and he just goes and skis and has that unbelievable trust with his technician. That's something RCS really needs to find, because these equipment issues are something that really should be a non-issue, and he should just be out there winning World Cups. All right, now we move on to the American and Canadian section, guys who did not make our little fake race. Steve Nyman was out there, 42nd and 40th. Didn't look good again, but a little inside baseball here. The way I was able to go back and forth between the 2 days' results without tricking myself into seeing the downhill results from today was by using Steve Nyman. So I know that Steve Nyman gets 18th in tomorrow's downhill. So now we're looking into the future. A little time travel for you. After watching him in the Super G, it didn't look great. He's still out there competing. He's strong enough, which looks good, but his balance doesn't look there. But an 18th in the Beaver Creek downhill tells me that he's still progressing and there's hope. And I'm really excited for Steve Nyman moving forward. Bryce Bennett, 43rd, 39th. Bryce looks really stiff to me. He's not extending and retracting his legs at all. It looks kind of like he's shifting left to right with the same body position, each one, especially up top on the pitch. And it's really static, and it's lacking any kind of fluidity, and it's slow. Down bottom, he started to flow with it a little bit more, and I actually saw some leg extension. Here's a guy who's 6'7", maybe taller. He's got those long legs. Those long legs will leverage, and it almost seems like he's afraid to use it. Well, if you're a big guy and you're a tall guy, you should ski like a big and tall guy. So, Bryce Bennett, I know you're going to figure it out. I like you. I had the honor of free skiing at Deer Valley one time with Bryce Bennett, and he absolutely tore into a slow sign at the bottom doing a GS turnaround and exploded it. And I think he's totally awesome. I really like him. Jeffrey Reed, 44th, 41st. Part of that Canadian contingent that doesn't look like they totally have it, but the team is good, so let's not get worried. Jared Goldberg, ragged, ugly day 146. He did not run the second day. Riley Seeger, DNF first day. Riley looked really good on day 2, 22nd. It's these runs from Riley Seeger and was it Brody Seeger who give me confidence that this Canadian team is better than even these good results, but the Canadian team is deep and they do have talent all the way through. So good job from them. River Radimus, double DNF on the weekend. He's wearing a giant knee brace on that knee that he allegedly hurt in downhill training. He doesn't look like he's totally confident out there, and both DNF, well, actually, no, sorry. I only saw the first DNF because I didn't show the second DNF today for whatever reason, another Peacock thing. But in the first DNF, it was like soft. Like it looked like maybe if he was fully healthy, he could have made it. But with the knee brace and where he's at with his health, it looked like he was saving his body to play another day. So good job there, River. He still looks smooth and fast, so I'm hoping that it's a minor knee and that the knee brace is just there for protecting that soreness. But, best of luck to River. I want him to get back out there healthy. We already talked about Brody Seager. Eric Arvidsson, here's a kid that I really like. I know him personally. I think he's a great kid. I think he's an awesome dude. Did not run the first day. 35th on the second day. 35th is a darn good result for someone who's been in college for the last couple of years. I like seeing him out there. We didn't get to see his run either. Peacock things, I don't know, whatever. And then we get to Kill Day. He won today, DNF the first day. He said in his interview after today's race that he just went out too hard and basically skied himself off of the course on day one, which makes a lot of sense. And kind of makes me feel better about skiing because watching him on day one, I was like, oh, God, well, Kilday's lost it too. So thinking about the overall, it was going to be Pinterault and Odermatt, maybe Odermatt running away with it. Who knows? Maybe one of the slalom guys can get it done. But I don't know. It wasn't looking like it was going to be an exciting overall year if Kilday wasn't going to be a factor. But now he's gone out and won a Super G. I think he is going to be a factor. Maybe he doesn't run enough GSs to do it, but if you're getting wins, you're a factor in the overall. So, cool seeing Kilday out there. Belay of France, I included him because he was 7th on the second day. He got hung up in the net on the first day. He was the bib one out there. And the camera guy missed it, but he was dangling 10 feet up in the net by his boots or something. That was crazy. There were some guys I missed out there this weekend. Johan Clary being the big one. I really got excited about Johan Clary last year because he's 3 years older than I am, and he's competing at his best ever level on the World Cup. I guess he's hurt right now, which is a real bummer. Maybe he's saving it, not doing Super G and just racing downhill. I hope so. The guy's awesome. And another Frenchman that I really miss is Adrien Theo. He's the one who fell in Copper and impaled himself with a tree and gashed his leg and just gnarly crashed. And I miss those guys. And I think that's part of why I was feeling kind of empty after the first day of Super G because we were missing some of the big names. Clary and Theo are some of the big names on the World Cup, and it was a bummer not having them out there. And while we're talking about guys I miss Bodie Miller. I loved it when Bodie was racing, and I miss Herman Meyer. I know that was a long time ago, but Herman Meyer was flipping awesome, and I miss him. So there it is. We're already 32 minutes in here. Really cool watching those Super Gs. It was awesome getting to see 2 in a row out there. I think we got a lot more out of it than if we had just had one Super G. A bunch of the people we would have written off as not having it this year were able to come out and redeem themselves on day 2. And some people that had some surprising results on day 1 showed that maybe they're not totally there yet and didn't have the same results on day 2. So, cool way to look at it. Thanks for watching Joe the Dad. Oh, geez, no, that's not my name anymore. Thanks for watching Ski Dad. The race recap, we're going to come at you tomorrow when I take the ladies downhills from Lake Louise, and I do this same thing with them. Keep shredding. Like, subscribe. Let's blow this thing up. Thanks, guys. Brett, that was exhausting. I'm not used to recording after I put the kids to bed. I like to put Dylan down for a nap and then come out here in the middle of the day when I'm fresh and I'm good and I'm only 4 hours off of my coffee. Doesn't matter what's in here. I don't know. I think it was a cool show. Do you think people are going to like it? I know I just made up an event. You think I called Bad Voice fat? What about Dominic Paris, man? 0 for 2. I hope he crushes the downhills. I love that guy.